All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody's having a nice day. It's pretty cloudy and overcast where I am. So, but the weather, I mean, temperature wise, it doesn't feel bad, but it's just real cloudy and overcast. But the last couple of Memorial Days, I was laughing because, people always have folks over and they're grilling and everything. And I think like the last 2 to 3 years in a row, it's been storms on Memorial Day. So people couldn't celebrate it the way they wanted, you know? All right. All right. So what we're going to talk about today is unreasonable fear of Black men, which leads to killing. I mean, look, 9 times out of 10, these folks will say they feel fear, but they are the ones that antagonize the entire situation. Almost, I would say 99% of the time, they are the ones antagonizing the entire situation. But we know what happens. Our people are always the ones that suffer in these incidents. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I know they don't like for us to show articles, but I'm showing this one. I don't care. All right. Let's see here. All right, y'all. If you can see my screen, go ahead and give me a 1. Okay. I got 1. Okay. So let's get started. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is an article that came out in Yahoo News. And as soon as I saw it, I said, you know what? I definitely got to do this one. So, unreasonable fear is killing Black men in America, and there's no justification for it. So, this is May 21st, 2020. And as you can see in the picture, you see Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, and Philando Castile right here. You know, and in all instances, these were folks just minding their own business, and the outcome was deadly. If you look closely following the twists and turns in many of the most high-profile shootings of Black men, you'll notice a pattern. First, only the slightest and smallest level of alleged misconduct or suspicious behavior. You notice that, I mean, I think all of us are old enough to know when they say suspicious, that always means Black. You know, it's amazing how nobody looks suspicious up in this society other than Black people. We're the only ones that look suspicious. That is just nothing but racism. As soon as you hear that from them, you know you're dealing with a racist. All right, or suspicious behavior is used to justify the killer's unreasonable fear. Second, even after the smoke clears, all too many members of the public will understand, forgive, and perhaps even share the deadly terror. Thank you, Clayton Morrow, for the super chat. Americans can still impose upon Black men the burden of their own unbalanced sense of risk. The justice of the singular act of the shooting is magnified by the collective acceptance in defense of the shooter's extraordinary alarm. You know, I don't care what anybody say. If you kill someone unarmed, that person was not attacking you, that person was not a threat to you, and you approached them and started the whole altercation, that should never be looked at stand your ground. It should never be looked as self-defense, because it's none of those things. If you approached a person and that person was not bothering you, that is not self-defense. But in many of these cases, just like Trayvon, we have seen where they will accept that as either staying your ground, self-defense, and it's bullshit. It's bullshit. They accept it because they look at us as expendable. Oh, you just killed one of them. Who cares? But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Look at the state that America is in today. Look at the state that it's in. Damn near has no economy. You got people protesting all in the streets. You know, just before I came on here, I was looking at the church services that took place today. I hope y'all all got your prayers in, because, you know, they all went to church to pray for everything to go back the way it was. So I sure hope you guys got your prayers in. I got my 3 in today. I did 3. One at 12, one at 3, and one at 6 o'clock. And I was looking at an article, and it was out of Germany. 100 Germans went to church service, and all of them got COVID-19. All of them got it just from attending church service. You know? So the way I see it, let them all go back to church. at the end of the day, who are they really hurting other than themselves? And they're the ones that are opening themselves up to getting sick. So they all rushed into the churches today, and they'll be doing the same thing next week. Just give it about anywhere from 10 to 14 days, and you'll see them all getting sick. You know, they don't want to believe that this place is over, is done. They don't want to believe it. But I think the illness will bring some reality to many of them. They're not going to have a choice but to deal with this. All right. So back to this story, y'all. The pattern applies to the shooting of Ahmaud Arbery. The known facts of the case are simple and startling. On the afternoon of February 23rd, two Georgia men, Travis and Gregory McMichael, saw Arbery running past their home. You know, and many people, ladies and gentlemen, believe this was a planned shooting. And the more I just look at certain things, they saw him before. They saw him many times. They knew who he was. They knew who he was. The cops even knew who he was. So a lot of people are saying this shooting of Ahmaud Arbery was planned. Okay. According to the police report in the case, these men thought he looked like a suspect in recent break-ins. Okay. You didn't give no description of the suspect, so I'm not buying that. So even if he looked like a suspect, how come at that moment you did not describe the suspect? See, I don't believe you look like that. That's just a new thing that they say to us now. Oh, you look like a suspect. We've had a lot of break-ins around here, and the cops already confirmed there were not a lot of break-ins going on in Brunswick, Georgia. So they lied about that. So in my opinion, you can't believe nothing from Travis and Gregory McMichael. They're just straight up liars. Okay, so they armed themselves with a shotgun and a handgun, and along with a third man, gave chase in two vehicles. Now, the one they recently arrested, I read he helped box Ahmaud Arbery in. So his ass ain't innocent. You know, he's playing all that innocent stuff, but he's not innocent. He's just as much up to his eyeballs as Travis and Gregory McMichael. Eventually, they cornered Arbery. One vehicle drove behind him, and its driver filming the encounter. The McMichaels' parked truck was in front of him, blocking his path forward. When he tried to go around the truck, remember, you know, that was all in the report. He was trying to get around the truck. And they actually chased him for about 4 straight minutes before the shooting. Travis moved to intercept, holding his shotgun. Arbery and Travis scuffled, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation said Travis shot Arbery, killing him. So it was 2 bullets to the chest, and 1 bullet grazed his wrist. The video was shocking. Why would these men arm themselves and chase down a young man in shorts and a t-shirt who held no visible weapons because it was a planned hit? Gregory McMichael told the police that they thought he might be armed. This is all bullshit. And it's not his place as a citizen to determine if somebody's armed or not. He's sitting up here conducting himself like he's some type of badge holding cop. And he really was no cop when he was a cop. He never had a peace license. He never went to any kind of police academy. So they allowed this high IQ man to be a cop, and he had no training whatsoever. So, that sent off a red light bulb in my head because how many more Gregory McMichaels are on these police forces? I bet you there are many. I bet there are many. Okay, why? Because they'd seen him once put his hands down in his pants. So what? So what? That doesn't mean somebody got a gun. And you know what? And I don't believe the McMichaels account of what happened, because that's why they got arrested, because they gave one whole different account to the police. And then when the video came out, the video was complete opposite of everything they told the cops. So do you think they're telling the truth about him putting his hands down his pants? I don't believe them. I don't believe them. I don't believe they told the truth about anything when it comes down to Ahmaud Arbery. That is the very definition of unreasonable fear. Exactly. As the case gained widespread attention, public attention, evidence emerged that Arbery had likely been in a construction site. And, we did see some of the footage, and you saw multiple people coming and going up to that house just to look around and leave. And even the owner said he had footage of many people walking up to the house, looking around and leaving. And he said not one person took anything from the house, and Arbery didn't take nothing either. Okay, a 911 caller said he saw a man in an open, unfinished house. A video feed showed someone who looked like Arbery standing in the site. There was no immediate evidence that he committed a crime. He simply stood in an empty, open building, something countless curious Americans do as a matter of course. Exactly. Yet, that very allegation, as innocuous as it is, was enough for some conservatives to come to the McMichaels' defense. No, they came to their defense because they are just like the McMichaels. They can relate to the McMichaels. That's why they came to their defense. I mean, let's be real. For example, conservative commentator Tommy Lauren, who I cannot stand, compared the claims that Arbery was just out jogging to the false claim that Mike Brown had his hands up when he was fatally shot in Ferguson. Well, they did, and neither one were a threat. Ahmaud was no threat to the McMichaels, and Mike Brown was no threat to Darren Wilson. That's the one thing that's consistent. Another conservative commentator, Candace Owens, attacked the claim that Arbery was just a jogger and said he was caught on camera breaking into an unfinished house. It was nothing to break into. The place didn't even have a door. Okay, go look at that place. It didn't even have a door on it. It was a completely unfinished house. And, let me just tell y'all something. Candace Owens is a bed wench. One consistent thing about all bed wenches, they all got issues with other Black people. I want y'all to always notice that consistent pattern with bed wenches. Every time you see one and they're in the news, their axe to grind is always with other Black people. Just take notice to that. That is a consistent pattern all of them have. All of them. Okay? Not some of them, all of them. Okay. But even if true, that action in no way justifies an armed two-car pursuit, and it certainly doesn't permit private citizens to attempt to seize Arbery at gunpoint. That's not the only trivial action or suspicion that contributed to a deadly attack. I'll never forget the extraordinary statement of Geronimo Yanez, the officer who shot and killed a young black man named Philando Castile during a traffic stop after Castile told Yanez that he was lawfully carrying a firearm. It's hardly unusual for a motorist to lawfully carry a firearm. And the video of the encounter shows that Castile was complying with Yanez's instructions when he was shot. The same video shows Yanez rapidly escalating the encounter like most cops do. They're all trained to escalate the situation when they're dealing with us, right? That is 100% the truth. What was one reason Yanez became so instantly afraid? Why was he so immediately convinced that a calmly speaking Castile was a deadly threat? Because Yanez smelled marijuana. That's another bullshit thing these cops say all the time. And I've heard them say that in instances where the person would even tell the cops, there's no way you smell marijuana. I don't even smoke. I've seen videos of black guys tell cops that. They'll come up, I smell marijuana. And it's like, I don't even smoke. So how the hell are you standing there smelling marijuana? And even if he walked up to the vehicle and smelled marijuana, that doesn't justify killing somebody because you smelled marijuana. And I'm sick and tired of this marijuana stuff coming up when the majority of the states have it legalized. This marijuana thing should no longer even be an issue in the country, but it is, because that's still one of the pettiest ways they can nail a black man. Yanez told investigators that if Castile has the guts and the audacity to smoke marijuana in front of a 5-year-old girl and risk her lungs and her life by giving her secondhand smoke, and the front seat passenger doing the same thing, then what care does he have about me? He pulled that out of his ass. He pulled that out of his ass. I'm willing to bet that there was probably no marijuana smell in that car. But he shot Philando Castile and he had to come up with some bullshit reason. And smelling marijuana is still not a justifiable reason to kill someone. It's a bullshit reason. It's still what he said justifies nothing. Unless anyone believed that Yanez's statement was too unreasonable to truly believe, recall that a Minnesota jury acquitted him of second-degree manslaughter charges. And that is because the juries are still predominantly white in America. And they shouldn't be. All white juries do not reflect the overall country. And there should never be all white juries, period. All white juries are probably the worst. And in fact, I'll go as far as saying the all white jury is criminal. It's criminal to have an all white jury. There are just too many tragic examples. Do you remember the killing of Walter Scott? He was shot in the back in 2015 by a South Carolina police officer, Michael Slager, as Scott fled from a scuffle. He was unarmed. Why did the officer shoot an unarmed black man in the back? I was scared, Slager told the jury. Okay, so you're scared of somebody running away from you. Then you shouldn't be a cop. Okay, if you're scared of somebody fleeing, then why are you a police officer in the first place? He said that in his mind, it was total fear. The 33-year-old cop was terrified of a 50-year-old man running away. Exactly. Stupid. One of the most tragic fatal confrontations in recent U.S. history, the killing of Trayvon Martin, began when George Zimmerman called 911 to report that Martin looks like he's up to no good. Now, if you looked at Trayvon and you looked at George Zimmerman, trust me, Zimmerman looks like he's up to no good. If you look at those two people, and he's never stopped getting in trouble with the law since that trial. Or he has drugs or something. It's raining and he's just walking around looking about. And all he was doing was walking back home. That was it from the store. That was the slight that led an armed man to follow a teenager. There was no weapons visible. Martin was unarmed. There was no evidence of any criminality. When the case dominated the public attention, a number of right-wing sites, in other words, white supremacist sites, combed through Martin's history, publicized evidence of past drug use. So what? He wasn't using drugs at the time he was walking home from the store. So that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. And we need to call this out. When they start digging for stuff and these events of him being higher, his past drug use, that has nothing to do with him being shot. And speculated whether he was a drug dealer, which is stupid. How is him walking home from the store make him a drug dealer? This is all stupidity. They were looking for reasons to justify Zimmerman's pursuit, which was dumb. As Shermichael Singleton recalls in the Washington Post, Geraldo Rivera, who I cannot stand him, went so far as to identify Martin's hoodie as a material factor in his death, which is dumb. If he didn't have that hoodie on, Rivera argued, that nutty neighborhood watch guy wouldn't have responded in that violent and aggressive way. Yes, he would have, because we already heard how George Zimmerman sound. It wouldn't have mattered what Trayvon would have done at that moment. He was hell bent on hunting him down. The legal outcomes of these cases vary. A hung jury protected Slager before he pled guilty to a federal civil rights offense. Juries acquitted Yanez and Zimmerman. And the Arbery murder case is pending. The McMichaels have been arrested in May. Juries acquitted Yanez and Zimmerman, but each case was dominated by obvious outsized perception of threat and danger. And that's exactly what the McMichaels are going to do. When this trial comes up, they're going to act like they were in danger, ladies and gentlemen. This is what they're going to put on, because look, let's face it, in America, that argument works in court. I feared for my life. Oh, we shot him because we thought he was going to shoot us. Okay, that's how they go into the courtroom with all of these cases. It's always the same argument. They initiate the whole thing, but they're the ones in fear of their life. That's how, but this is how they put on these trials in the country. And rather than rightly being seen as a badge of shame, the shooters' paranoia actually unites their defenders in righteous indignation. There's nothing righteous about their coming together. How can it be? In part because of a part of the U.S. population shares the same perceptions of threats as the shooters themselves. Exactly. Bunch of racists. Exactly. They look at the McMichaels and sympathize with their armed pursuit. Well, I sure don't. They think it was fine for Zimmerman to follow Martin. And if police officers felt afraid, who are they to second guess the boys in blue? Bunch of hypocrites, because, during the shutdown, we have seen how they conducted themselves around cops. Disrespectful, yelling at cops, hitting cops. They do all that mess. But at the same time, they got the audacity to tell you to respect the cops. I mean, what a joke. Put another way, there are Americans who would never pick up a weapon and try to track down a black man running on the streets, or follow a young black man on a rainy night. But they understand and sympathize with those who do. There is no easy cure for an unbalanced sense of risk. One can flood the zone with statistics about reduced crime. Juries can hold cowardly killers accountable, but they never do. They never do. Okay. And, that is the whole key to having the all white jury, is to make sure their own don't go to jail. No matter what they do, they don't go to jail. Outrageous video clips can raise awareness and slowly open eyes. But at the end of the day, the battle is over the state of the human heart. Make no mistake, hearts can change. There was a time when my own first instinct was to disbelieve that injustice and prejudice could still be so profound. Surely, I would think there was a rest of the story. And yes, sometimes there was. Sometimes initial reports of police or citizen misconduct were wrong. Well, and in many cases, I would say in 99% of the cases, they're always lying on a black man. Okay. And you can't leave that out. These people will lie and make stuff up. Even if it's, they'll say things happened at the crime scene that never happened, just for the sake of trying to get sympathy for themselves. So, like I said, just expect the McMichaels to go in that courtroom when their trial to come up, and they're going to suddenly become the victim in the Ahmaud Arbery shooting. They're going to become the victim. But all too often, those reports of misconduct were right. All too often, they are right. In fact, those reports are right so often, with so many Americans defending the indefensible. And I realized that all too many of these cases carried with them a dreadful double injustice. There was the awful death itself. Then there was the public declaration that there was something right about the alarm and even terror that triggered deadly violence. It was the second injustice that helped perpetuate the cycle of violence. It teaches a new American generation that when black men do even small things, then there is a reason to grab a gun or even to fire that gun. The battle for hearts and minds must continue. It must be relentless and urgent until, as long as there is no real market for rationalization. After all, there is no reason to walk through a neighborhood at night or through an open construction site or a whiff of marijuana in a car should create any American that terrible and fatal sense of unreasonable fear. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they got their laws set up. No matter what we do and what we say, we're always guilty, and they're always in fear of their life. Okay. And that's the way it is. And I'm telling you, this is the way they are going to put on the trial for the McMichaels. They are suddenly going to be the fearful victims. They were so scared, and they saw their life flash before them from watching this guy jog down the highway, did all of that to them. But that's exactly how they're going to put on that trial. You can best believe it. Oh, yeah. You got the police, and then you got every white citizen that's deputized. And just the whole thing is ridiculous. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? There is light at the end of the tunnel. Their system is falling apart. They are up against battling a virus that they can't see, they can't touch, they can't arrest, they can't shoot at it, they can't be a concerned citizen about it. It really is dragging the whole country down. America's not going to shut, that's why Trump has recently said during the second wave, there will be no shutdown of America. In all honesty, ladies and gentlemen, all of these businesses are not coming back. Let's be real. They're not. Number two, I was looking at, states like Georgia and Florida. They are complaining that consumers are not really returning back to those businesses. So yes, you may have the business and it's open, but they're not making the money that you think. A lot of people are very reluctant and skeptical about going back into stores and going back in a lot of these businesses, and they're just simply not doing it. They're not. So them bringing back the country, it is not going to happen. I mean, look, even their best economists are saying if we have to go through this again or even a third time, it is pretty much a wrap. I believe it's a wrap already. I really do. I believe it's a wrap already. Yeah. Well, I think people are not satisfied with Trump saying it's okay to go back out there. People are just not feeling him on that. He's telling us to go back out there, and then we're still watching the numbers go up around the country. So who is really going to trust what this man is saying? He has an agenda. He wants to make money. Trump lost $1 billion, y'all, in the stock market back in March. This man wants to recoup his money. He doesn't care if people got to die in order for him to get the money back. He don't care. This is how these folks think. Remember, they're unreasonable. I mean, their thinking is unreasonable. And I'm sorry, I never met one that I'm going to put my life on the line for. Not one. Not one. But I'm still hearing them call for uniting and coming together and pray for America. I'm still hearing that stuff from them. Well, I don't know why they would expect us to go out. Remember, we got it worse than everybody. So no one should have the expectation that we should be out there. That's the way I see it. But you know what, y'all? Keep your eyes open. Tomorrow is Memorial Day. And they are going to crowd the beaches all over the country. And look, we're still in lockdown in New Jersey, but the governor has decided to open the beaches tomorrow. So the beaches are going to be crowded tomorrow. Count 10 days out from Memorial Day. That's when you should start hearing about folks getting sick all over the place. So they can have it. They can go out on the beach every day if they want. Crowd out there every day. I don't care. I have no desire to be out there. I have no desire to be there. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to stop them if they want to be out there. I have no advice Zero. Go on out there as far as I'm concerned. I'll go right on out there. Oh, they're all going to go up. Wherever they open the beaches, all of the is going to be a big influx of cases. And they're already crowded in the churches today. Trump told everybody to go back to church. So you're going to hear about a lot of people getting it in the church services just this weekend alone. Yeah, well, one thing I can say, when I look at the protest and I look at the people on the beach, we ain't really out there. We're not. I had a subscriber come and say, Black people need to get back in the house and stop protesting. I was like, what are you looking at? Every protest I've seen, I didn't see not one Black person there. What the hell are you looking at? Y'all, everybody don't do it, but y'all that do that, stop doing that nonsense. Stop accusing Black people of everything when we're not even in those places. We're not in the protests. We're not all over the beach. Stop making those accusations. Thank you, Night to Shady. Thank you, hashtag Black Media. Lisa Cabrera, keep it 100. Thank you. Yeah, well, look, what's going on has nothing to do with us. We are still in our separation, and we need to stay in this separation. Trust me on this one. We need to stay separated. This is the best thing that could have happened to us this year. And they're calling for a bad hurricane season. So just picture in your mind, people are going to have to evacuate. People are going to have to be rescued with COVID-19 going on. Do you know how bad that's going to be? When you got folks that got to be rescued and they may have COVID-19 and now they are infecting the rescuers and everybody, man, I see a big disaster coming down the pike. A big one. No, I don't feel no need to protest either. I don't see the point in being out there if the virus is still there. It just that makes common sense. Stay away from the virus, stay away from the people, and you'll reduce your chances of getting the virus. We are prepared here in Florida. Yeah, they said the Atlantic is going to have a very busy hurricane season. So all of us on the East Coast, we all could be potentially hit with a hurricane, especially another busy season. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, it's going to be an interesting year. I really truly believe May will not look anything like December. I think it's going to be a very different world when we get to December, y'all. It's going to be a very different world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to hold you any longer. Thank you so much for being here. And as usual, I pray deeply for my brothers and sisters in the four corners of the earth. I pray that the Most High continue to keep his hedge of protection around each and every one of you and your families. And stay safe, family. For reals. I really, truly mean it. Stay safe and just keep yourself out of harm's way. Peace, family.